inocente, inocente, Bissau kasi binada desnuda dili Bissau Aki culpa kuna pagasi Bissau nando kasi binada desnuda dili Bissau nando Aki culpa kuna pagasi Udimitinya mona pomo Bissau inocente desnuda dili Bissau nando Aki culpa kuna pagasi Bissau nando Bissau kasi binada desnuda dili Bissau nando Aki culpa kuna pagasi
Guinea-Bissau fought the longest independence war in Africa. In June 1998, a military revolt began after the army chief of staff was sacked, accused of arms trafficking to rebels in Senegal. The disgruntled military demanded better salaries, better pensions for the elderly, a more dignified life for all those who fought Portuguese colonialism for 11 years and won independence for their nation. 90% of the army joined in the mutiny. Battle-hardened veterans of the colonial war joined too. An isolated president, Nino Vieira, called on his neighbors for help. The Senegalese and Guinea-Conakry armies sent more than 3,000 troops to prop up a regime no one wants. For almost 9 months, the capital Bissau was besieged by guerrillas, fighting a war with little incentive beyond bitterness and poverty. They sent 2 of the most powerful armies in West Africa packing. Major Almane Alan Camara, he's one of the commanders who surrounded the capital. Fighting continued here until a ceasefire in February 1999, when an interim government was sworn in. Camara was born in the Gambia, educated at a Catholic mission, and converted to Islam as an adult. He's an educated man. He speaks English, French, Portuguese, Creole, and his ethnic language. Captain Bubo Nachuto from Balanta is married with 5 children. He started fighting during the colonial war when he was 14 years old. After independence, he was sent to Portugal, where he attended a training school for fusiliers. When he returned to Bissau, he was arrested on charges of ethnic cleansing when the army killed 39 Balanta people in 1986. He was in jail for 5 years until he was forgiven by Nino Verda's regime. Like many, he feels he was a scapegoat.
Francis.
Major Lassana Nidani is 42 years old and from the Balanta ethnic group too. He also started fighting when he was 14 years old. He was involved in the guerrilla fighting in the north and east of Guinea-Bissau. He was a regular at the front line during the colonial war. By the end of the fighting, he was commander of the battalion. He was made deputy chief of state in Bafata. Arrested and tortured by Nino Vieira's regime, he left the army and worked for many years on a sailing boat. He is one of the commanders of the easterly wing of troops. His motto in life, he says, it's better to die fighting. Captain Bidom Namomche is commander of the 3rd Detachment in the central wing of rebel troops. The area he commanded was known as the Graveyard, where there are the graves of some of the 2,000 Senegalese allegedly killed during the fighting. This old man, with 2 wives and 7 children, took up arms again at the ripe old age of 52. Once he commanded a platoon of 15 men. Nowadays, he commands 157 men. He never had any special relationship with Nino Vieira nor Chief of Staff Ansoumana Mane. He is simply a soldier. He chain smokes a pipe. Major Tagme Nawe, a terrible hatred welled up after being involved in state-sponsored human rights abuses. He was imprisoned for 5 years and severely tortured by Nino Vieira's regime. This war has given him the opportunity to get revenge. He is one of the most fierce fighters at the disposal of the military junta. These men went to war to end a political culture based on fear. Was Nino afraid of the Balanta people? Yes, he was afraid of the Balantas because the Balantas are very strong men, brave men during fighting. What happened to you in the prison? I was in prison for 10 months. After the trial took place, I was sentenced to death by firing squad. They killed 6 people and left other 6 alive. We were deported to the island of Biagos, where I stayed for 6 years. You escaped the firing squad? Yes. Do you know why? Well, they forgave 6 and killed other 6. They commuted the death sentence to life sentence. But you got out. Was it Nino who forgave you? No, it wasn't Nino. It was the court. Were you tortured? Severely tortured. I was given the lid of a jug with water in every 24 hours. Were you very thirsty? Yes. And hungry. I had a handful of food to last me 24 hours. Were you beaten? Torture, plenty of it. Electric shock, batons, a lot of torture. Had you stopped talking to Nino by this point? A long time ago. We stopped talking in 1985 because Nino is a bad man. He is a savage. Nino is a bandit. He's no good. So many years of fighting. I started fighting in 1962. In 1964, I was a commander, a good commander. I was the commander in the bush in many different regions of Guinea-Bissau. I had 58 men. Of those, just 30 survived. The others died. I was given 120 more men. Between 1970 and 1972, I had 100 out of 120 left. Was the war against the Portuguese very hard? Yes, very hard. We lost many men. They lost their legs on the way because of the landmines. Sometimes we would stumble across Portuguese ambushes and we would lose 1, 2, 3 men. We had wounded people and those who would lose legs and hands. Were you ever hurt by landmines? Yes, 4 times. I fell on a landmine once and my clothes got completely burnt. All I had left was my gun. Another time, a bullet went through my leg. The 3rd time, I got hit in my back. The 4th time, in my arm. What did you get out of so much sacrifice? Nothing, only ingratitude. The country was left in poverty. It didn't move forward. It was always left behind. And the people know that everything in this country stagnates. They made the military dig drains, serve as guards. That was the work that the military did in Guinea-Bissau. And that cannot be. That is why we decided that things would have to be this way. This situation has to change. Nino does not want change. He called in Senegal and Guinea-Conakry troops and wanted to destroy Guinea-Bissau.
bruscamente para fazer dano na Guiné-Bissau. Então,
We, as former combatants, as military men,
agarramos na arma.
took up arms to defend our country.
Defender o nosso país.
Mas esta luta ainda não acabou. Os
But the war is not
senegalenses
over.
não foram
The Senegalese troops have not
O
gone.
senegalense não vai.
Yes, they are still here. Until Senegal leaves, the war will not be over.
da revolta.
Before the rebellion, did the former army soldiers try to talk to President Nino Vieira? Yes, we spoke to President Nino Vieira, arranged a meeting with President Nino Vieira, and he did not turn up. He did not accept that he had to meet with those who fought for freedom and country. We talked to him. On the 5th of June, Nino made a speech and said that he would always rule Guinea-Bissau, and his son would do so after him.
O comandante vivia mal.
Was your life bad? I had no preconditions.
Como é que é a sua casa?
What is your house like? It is not so bad, but I have no furniture or anything because I have no money to buy it, not even a television or a radio. A man who fought for 11 years.
Agora,
You should be retired.
para descansar.
Why did you take up arms again?
Pegar em armas.
Through anger. Anger. But it is also a sacrifice. That is what made me take up arms again. We take up arms, but that is not our destiny. We thought that once we took up arms, he would recognize us, that within 24 hours he would talk to us, sit at a table, and everything would be over. But he threatened us with war, and we accepted the threat. We knew we had an advantage. We knew we are accepted. We knew that we would do whatever the people wanted us to do. That is what we are going to do. When we saw that he was bringing in foreign troops, it gave us more strength.
O senhor, quando
Were
viu
you scared that troops from Senegal and Guinea-Conakry were in Guinea-Bissau?
teve medo?
Me? If I was in those countries, I might have been scared, but not here.
Que o Nino
Do you think that Nino has forgotten his old comrades in arms?
Eu penso que Nino não se esquecer.
I think that he has forgotten
Não
nothing.
esquecer nada o que se passou.
He cannot forget anything
Não
that
esquecer
happened.
nada o que ele pretende, o que ele deve fazer.
He cannot forget
Mas Nino,
what he should do.
Nino torna-se,
But Nino became evil,
torna-se
an ungrateful person,
uma pessoa
a
ingrata.
person I cannot
Torna-se
describe
uma
right now.
pessoa, que eu não posso descrever neste momento. Nino sabe
Nino
quem é
knows
ele.
very well what he is
Está
doing.
muito consciente.
He's very
Mas
aware.
uma coisa eu queria dizer é
But
que
there is
neste
something I
momento,
must stress.
Nino, ele
Nino
queria
puts assets
ter mais
before
bens
people.
que ter pessoas.
Acha que foi a ambição que
You think it was ambition? It was ambition for material assets. That is all I can say.
Havia levantamento.
On 7th of June, when the military uprising took place,
Quantas vezes?
how many people called Nino in order to talk to him, to ask him to give the military better conditions, especially the mutilated soldiers, with no eyes, no feet, hands? What did he do? Nothing.
Há pessoas que todos os pés foram cortados.
There are people whose feet were amputated or their hand.
O que ele pode fazer?
And what can they do?
Ele não pode fazer nada.
Nothing.
E se ele recebe
They receive 12,000 or 9,000 francs, depending on their rank.
12.000 francos ou 9.000 francos, outros estão no 9.000, outros 12.000, consoante categoria.
era a reforma do
That's a retired soldier's pension?
Quanto custa um saco de arroz, por exemplo?
Yes.
Saca de arroz custa 11.500.
How much does a bag of rice cost? A bag of
Quem
rice
recebe
cost 11,500 francs at the time of the uprising.
tem crianças, tem
Those who receive 9,000, what can they do?
relacionamento africano.
They have families, a wife, children.
Todos aqueles que não podem
You know what African relationships are like. All those who can't work will just rely on one person, and that person is responsible for feeding them, clothing them, everything society demands.
que a sociedade pede.
This transformed Guinea-Bissau into a mountain of
Transformou a
corruption.
Guiné numa camada de corrupção. Toda a gente
Everyone is prepared to do anything in order to look after those who depend on them.
sustentar aquelas que estão debaixo dela.
So Guinea-Bissau became a very corrupt country,
Muito corrupto. País altamente corrupto.
an extremely corrupt country.
E Guiné tornou país
And
mais
Guinea-Bissau
pobre.
became
Muito
poorer despite being a very rich country.
Tornou pobre.
And why did it become poor?
Tornou pobre porque
It became poor because they took the money away. The money is only for those at the top. During 18 years of presidency, Nino Vieira created a wealth of silent enemies. The career of Guinea-Bissau's president is marked by untold treachery, namely against army officers and the most influential of the Balanta ethnic group. These treacheries were unforgivable with history in mind. It was the Balantas who fought hardest in the war against the Portuguese. It was the Balantas who overthrew Luis Cabral in the coup d'etat that brought Nino Vieira to power. If Nino had remained faithful to his men, he would be a proud leader today. In almost 9 months of war, the Guinea-Bissau rebels and former soldiers drove back the armies of Senegal and Guinea-Conakry. The rebels controlled 90% of the country, and the capital, Bissau, became the last stronghold of President Vieira. The rebels were determined to win. I am waiting for the comrades to arrive. They have to help us so that we can surprise the enemy. There were 5 dead in the Bairro do Irac. We are resisting. In the bush, you can't raise your voice. The enemy is in trenches a few dozen meters away. Let them go. Don't move. Keep alert. As soon as they come close, you start shooting. The moment we see they've started their advance, then we go. Okay. Masters in guerrilla war, the men who fought against the Portuguese army relive moments of glory, redemption, and revenge. For many of these rebels, those humiliated and tortured were friends.
Robaldo de Pina Araújo,
Robaldo de Pina Araújo, João Monteiro,
Alfonso Té,
Alfonso Té, many of them. There's no need to name names.
aliás Abulai
Abulai Camara,
Nhansu Jamba.
Yansu Jamza. I can't stand it. If I try to describe the situation, I'll start crying. But God is strong. We took up arms once again to fight against that dog, Nino. God permitting, today or tomorrow, this thing will explode, and we will enter Bissau. I will pounce on them over at the palace.
Para o senhor,
Do you consider the fight for independence a fight for the birth of the nation, whilst this war is a war of hatred?
esta é uma guerra de ódio para o senhor.
It's not a war of hatred. A lot of people joined the junta and did not do it because of hatred. But for me, personally, I am in a war of hatred against Nino. That's me personally. If I was in charge of the military junta, things would be different. Whatever Ansumane says, we obey. He is the junta's supreme commander. But if I was in his shoes, things would not be the same. No one would be allowed to stick their nose in. If anyone came to talk to me, I would send them away. I wouldn't rest until I got hold of Nino with my own hands.
O senhor uma vez pensou
Did you ever think your soldiers could win a war against the Senegalese army? I was absolutely certain of it. The Guinea-Bissau army, each soldier, each former soldier, is worth 10 Senegalese soldiers. Did you kill many Senegalese? Many. Even today, I have the heads of a Senegalese captain and of a Guinea-Conakry captain. I kept them. You kept them? Under the bed. Are they your war trophies? I killed him over here on the 19th. I expelled the Senegalese forces, captured a lot of provisions. On the 30th, I forced the Senegalese further back. This uniform belonged to a Senegalese soldier. The belt, the knife, everything. I stole it. Whose uniform was it? Senegalese soldier called Njai. His name is written here. Did the person who owned the uniform die? He died. That is when we took the rucksacks, 2 rocket-propelled grenades, and so on. This war began the day before the Guinea Parliament published a report on arms trafficking. It examined the weapons given by officers of the Guinea-Bissau army to the separatist guerrillas of Casamance, a region in South Senegal. Those guerrillas had been destabilizing Senegal for 16 years with the support, sometimes tacit, sometimes overt, of the Guinean government. With the outbreak of war, the report was never published. Nino Vieira tried to pin the blame on his army chief, Ansoumana Mané. But in April 1999, the inquiry cleared Mané and held Vieira criminally responsible for the arms sales. The military had said all along that the villain of this tale is Nino Vieira. In May 1999, the rebels stormed the presidential palace in the capital, Bissau, demanding that Vieira stand trial for corruption. The president has asked for and received asylum in Portugal. But that depends on whether the rebels allow him to leave. Firstly, we are very aware. The fighters for freedom and country, the Cabral fighters, are very aware. We are the ones who liberated the nation. But Nino said that the fighters are stupid, can't write. But Nino himself, he has only studied to year 4. Year 4. Do you believe he started the traffic of arms to Casamance? That is very difficult to say. We have to wait until we read the reports on arms trafficking. Then you will know who was the author of the arms trafficking. That will confirm everything. The report did indeed confirm everything, and Parliament voted to put Vieira on trial. He is a man who knows how to hold on to power, only allowing a multi-party system in 1994, and having survived 4 attempted coups. But the military will not rest until Vieira steps aside. He can't stay. Whatever the people of Guinea-Bissau want, Nino doesn't. He only does what he wants to do. That cannot be. There wasn't a day which wasn't difficult. Since 7th June, there wasn't a day which wasn't hard. The foreign troops may have gone, replaced by